everyone, welcome to Ada's Kitchen. Today we are going to be preparing a lovely cake, but before that, please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment on the video. Alright, let's view the ingredients we're going to be baking our cake today. We'll be using a liquid milk, our measuring cups is our baking powder, our nutmeg, our king's butter, the egg, our sugar, our flavors, a variety of flavor, our flour, it's our mixing bowl and our mixer. So for our cake today, we are going to be using 4 cups of flour, 1.5 sachet of butter. We'll be using 6 eggs, 1 cup of sugar. We'll be using a strawberry flavor and vanilla flavor. Then we'll be using evaporated milk. This is the milk we have available at this moment. Then our baking powder and our nutmeg. So let's start by adding our dry ingredients first, and make sure that any bowl you're using to add your dry ingredient is always dry. Do not use a wet bowl. After washing your bowl, you dry the bowl with a clean dry towel. So we'll add our 4 cups of flour. So this is our 4 cups of flour in our basin. So the next thing we are going to do is to add our baking powder to the basin. We are going to be using 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Make sure the baking powder you're buying is an active baking powder. If not, the cake is not going to rise. So the next thing we are going to add is our nutmeg, and we are going to grate our nutmeg. It's best to use powdered nutmeg because it's sold in the market, or you buy the seed and grate it by yourself. The nutmeg gives a very nice flavor to the cake. So we are finished adding our nutmeg, baking powder and flour. If you are using powdered milk, you add the milk at this stage because it's powdered, it's a dried ingredient. If you're also using milk flavor, you add it here because it's also a dried ingredient. Then we mix it together, mix it thoroughly. After mixing it, we set it aside. So the second thing we are going to do now is to whisk the butter and sugar together. So we are going to add 1 sachet of butter because we are using 1.5 for the 4 cups of flour. So we've added 1.5 sachet of butter. So the next thing we are going to do is to put our 1 cup of sugar. So this is our 1 cup of sugar. So the next step we are going to do now is to whisk the butter and the sugar together until it's very light and fluffy. So the egg floats on water. So if you do not have a mixer, you can use your pistol to turn it, and it's advisable to be turning it anti-clockwise if you're using a pistol to turn the sugar and the butter. So we're going to turn this for the next 25 to 30 minutes, but if you're using a pistol, it's best to turn it to next 30 minutes. Cake, look at the texture of our cake. It's very light, very light. At this point, if you scoop a little bit of this batter and drop it in a cup of water, it's going to float. Even the sound of the sugar is not showing. So the next thing we're going to do now is to break in our 6 eggs and put it into the mixture. So this is our 6 eggs. We're going to be adding it into the mixture. So then I'm going to use my Gary turner to turn it. If you are still using the whisk to turn, is good. If you are using your spatula, is okay. If you are using your Gary turner, is also okay. Your pistol is okay. You see the texture. This is how it's going to be. So now we are going to add our milk. Then we'll turn it. We'll add the next one. This is the stage where we'll start adding all the liquid things available. That's the flavor, the milk. If you're using liquid milk, if you're using dried milk, do not forget, if you're using dried milk, add it while you are mixing the flour. Add it with the other dried ingredients. Now we are going to be adding our vanilla flavor. We'll add 2 teaspoons. This is teaspoon, not tablespoon. If you have vanilla extract, you can also add it. Milk flavor, you add it. Anyone you have. It's your choice. Give you any taste you want. Then also I'm going to be using strawberry flavor. Also 2 teaspoons of the vanilla. The strawberry, I mean. You can use any other flavor you care to use. There are so many flavors: the banana, vanilla, strawberry, butterscotch, assorted flavors, depending on the taste of cake you want. Then we'll mix it together. after mixing it, this is where we begin to add our flour gradually. When you add a little, you turn. So this is our batter after adding the flour and every other ingredient. This is our batter. So when we bake it, our cake is going to be ready. Now this is the pan I'm going to use. Make sure you grease your pan. Greasing your pan, that is you spreading butter around the pan, or you use a baking sheet or greasing spray on your pan, so that when you put the cake, when it's ready, to be able to come out. So now we are going to add the cake. But before we add the cake, we're also going to spread a little bit of flour on the greased pan. Do not add excess. Spread a little bit of flour on the greased pan. Then we'll add our batter into the pan. So after adding the batter into the pan, you shake it. You shake it. After shaking it, use your spatula, your spoon, your turning gari, anyone, your gari turner, and smoothing, level the top of the cake, the batter, so that when it's rising, it will rise equally. Then you heat the batter on the next table floor or anywhere you are using, any surface you are using. This is so that any air bubble trapped inside the batter will be able to go out. So hitting it or shaking it, any air bubble inside will go out. So the next step we are going to do now is to go and bake the cake. So we'll be baking the cake for 45 minutes. I'm using a local oven, so I am going to check my clock from now. I'm fixing the cake into the oven to the next 45 minutes. The cake will be ready. And before adding the cake, make sure that you've preheated the oven. Like myself, I've preheated my local oven. So if you're using electrical oven, you make sure that you preheat the oven. If you're using pots, you make sure that you preheat the pot. I also make a video where I'll be using pot to bake cake, so that you also have idea on how to use a pot to bake a cake. So what we're going to do now is to put this cake into the oven and wait for the next 45 minutes so that we'll see the outcome. At our cake, it came out amazing. It came out amazing. Will you tell me that you will not want to try this? Please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe on the video, and also wait and check out for the next video on how I'm going to apply icing on this cake.